John, are you there? Hello? I am nicely dressed. I came fully clothed to this Skype conversation. Hello, hello. You can still cover yourself in mud and keep your clothes on.
Leave that in, Paul. Leave that in. You can cut that out.
Hi, everybody. This is the Post Movie Podcast. I'm Steve Head.
And I'm John Black.
And on this week's episode, we're going to talk about the new movie Predators from Robert Rodriguez and Despicable Me, Steve Carell's new animated CGI film. And we're also going to discuss Jean-Luc Godard's Breathless, which is now playing at the Coolidge Corner Theater here in Massachusetts. John, what did you think of Predators? I just saw it a couple hours ago, and I'm kind of on that Predators vibe at the moment.
Yeah, is it a good vibe? Are you feeling it?
I digged it.
You got it.
I really did. I mean, I'm gonna say right off the bat. I mean, I think it's a better film than the original.
Well, the original was what, 20 something years ago, 30 years ago, something like that.
1987.
Yeah. So, I mean, I remember seeing the original in theaters and just loving it, and then you were stuck with these really awful sequels.
Yes.
And then this comes along, and right from the opening scene, I was hooked.
Mm-hmm.
I was hooked. I was like, this is going to be fun. Lots of action, funny moments, good acting. I loved it. And, but I'll never defend it like, and it's funny, we go on with this show, people are going to say, well, you liked Predators, but you didn't like Breathless. It's eggs and, what is it, apples and oranges? You don't compare? Right. This is apples and oranges. And Predators was a great, big, juicy movie apple.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I like the whole premise. It has a certain mysteriousness about it that each of these characters bring to this situation where we don't know what it is or what the Predators are doing, but they've basically taken our best hunters, whoever they think would be a good mix of people. I don't know who knows how they chose who was going to participate in this particular game, but they've taken, I guess, just under a dozen or so people from different parts of the world and parachuted them onto this game preserve planet. And each one of these, people has their own. It's like putting together
it's a dream team.
It's like their hunting dream team.
Well, yeah, it's like these movies like The Dirty Dozen when they go to the prison and they say, I'm going to pick the toughest badasses and make a squad out of them. Except these guys literally drop out of the sky. They wake up in mid-air, trying to hit their parachute button, and it was just hilarious. And then, they all have different backgrounds: Yakuza or, Black Ops military or
the sniper.
Yeah, the sniper guy. There's a guy from Croatia, and there's
the doctor.
And there's Danny Trejo, who is just a badass in any language.
Yeah.
So, and this was now it was produced by Rodriguez. It wasn't directed by him, right? Is that how it works?
It was directed by Nimrod Atal.
I didn't realize that when I saw it.
Nimrod.
When Nimrod came up as a director, I thought it was like an Alan Smithy thing that Rodriguez had put up, and then someone told me no, it's actually a different director. The guy who
you heard it. There was a couple people in the theater that made fun of his name, but.
How was it? I saw it with the press at 10 o'clock in the morning, which was weird for this kind of movie because usually this is like a late night or an evening screening with a crowd. How was it? Were there a lot of people there today?
I saw it at 11:50 this morning, and it was a half full theater. I was surprised at how many people were there.
And did they dig it? Were they going crazy?
I wouldn't say they're going crazy. There were a couple of people that applauded at the end, but there were the annoying people. Just the guy in the row in front of me talking during the movie. I want to pull a Predator on him.
Rip his spine out, shake it at him.
That was just
As a sidebar to this, just for a second, people applauded at the end of this movie, right?
There were a few, yeah.
When was the last time you actually applauded at the end of a movie?
Me, I don't know. I don't know. When was it for you?
It was seeing The Big Chill when it first came out.
Really?
I saw it. It was a packed place, and I applauded like a nut when it was over. It was just so different, and it just hit so many buttons at the right time. I've seen it since. I haven't applauded again, but yeah, I just remember that.
I might have after watching Avatar, had that stupid song not kicked in at the end of the movie. That kind of pulled the plug on it for me. But Predators, it was a kick in the ass. I really enjoyed it.
Well, what did you think of Adrian Brody as an action hero?
Well, for each of these characters, they're really, the idea that they're just going to be these archetypes, these one-dimensional characters, and it pretty much played out that way. I mean, Adrian Brody is straight up. I don't know, the U.S. He's a bounty hunter.
Right. He's kind of Arnold-esque.
Yeah, sort of like that. I guess he's had experience fighting in different venues or was like ex-military, but basically he's a bounty hunter.
Yeah.
He gives this one, speech during the movie where he talks about why he became who he is, and it's about how once you've hunted the human creature and enjoyed doing that for so many years, you can't, there's nothing like hunting humans. That's what the real pleasure is. And he was quoting, I believe, Hemingway. And so this is what he attributes to himself. This just this is his way of life, hunting things. And he's the guy that I think is, well, obviously it's kind of established early on that he's the alpha male of the group. Either you follow him or you can just go.
Right. He's always walking off every time someone disagrees with him. He's like, "Oh, I'm taking my gun and going home."
Yeah. Yeah.
And he delivers his lines in this kind of like throaty, whispery, tough guy
voice. He's got some of the Christian Bale voice from Terminator Salvation going.
Yeah. But it was okay, It's
all right.
It's funny because now he's an Oscar-winning actor, so you kind of measure everything up against what he did in what was it, Piano. And here's the thing: I would go see Predators again. I wouldn't go see the Piano again. Just don't want to. But the rest of the cast worked for me. The minute you see Danny Trejo pop up, I'm smiling.
I think Robert Rodriguez, or the films he produces, they have this sort of tongue-in-cheek quality to them. They're not, and it's because of that. It sort of like it has this green light to be kind of over the top and kind of funny, and we accept it for being that. Which is just something that the other Aliens versus Predators movies just did not have. They were just
and at the same time, to balance that out, I think he takes what he's doing very seriously. I think it takes the legend of the Predators and the mythos of what we've had from all the other movies pretty seriously, and makes him and respects him. He's not, it's not the what was it, Predator 2 when they're in New York City and it's Danny Glover and Maria Conchita Alonso, fighting. That was stupid. The Alien versus Predator movies weren't that good, So I think he really takes all that myth that set up the first one and retools it, and he definitely has fun doing it.
It plays as a great sequel, I think.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's like when they dust off any franchise that's been sitting dead for so long. You always, the cynical, critical part of me always thinks, "Oh, here they're just trying to make money by." Coming up with, I don't know, I'm trying to think of another movie that's come out recently. It's like, it's almost like when we do something like Hale's Navy movie. Why are we doing this? Mm-hmm. It's whether there's some guy, I know there's some guy in Hollywood who just sits there with old TV guides and looks for, old shows that haven't been made into movies yet. Or, they go through the IMDb and look for movies that are now in public domain so they can make them quick. Or they take a French movie and anglicize it.
It's sort of what Superman's going through again.
Yeah.
Need of a reboot.
So we were talking about this whole idea of, was there a public demand for Predators?
Well, I think what this was a movie of opportunity. It was the timing was right. He tried to make this 10 years ago. He had the idea to put a group of people on a predator planet, game preserve, and do that. But he had some other commitments, and I guess Fox was going to go ahead with this whole Alien versus Predator thing. So it didn't work at the time, and then when the opportunity came across his desk again, he went back into retooling the script, and Fox loved it, so they went ahead and went with it. And this is all detailed on the Predator Ultimate Hunter Edition Blu-ray DVD.
Oh, did that?
Yeah. No, I did. I do have the DVD. There's a new documentary on it called "Evolution of the Species," where Rodriguez talks about the creation of the film. It's not. It's not. It's more like a featurette.
Right,
Really,
right.
there's a couple new things on the Predator DVD. Basically, it's most of the Predator Ultimate Hunter like special edition DVD came out like 5 years ago, and they put all
Mm-hmm.
that on the Blu-ray, but they've added a couple of features. One of them is the new Predators a piece where
Anything
Rodriguez.
to make a dime.
It looks
No,
great
it's
though.
true.
I mean, I got to tell you, I watched this DVD a couple days ago. I was freaking mesmerized by it. I mean, it just looked beautiful. You know, I mean, I thought I'd
Cool.
seen the film, and I had, many years ago, but
Right.
it's wild seeing it. And John McTiernan's filmmaking style with the end credits here. Oh my God, that was. It's I just don't see them doing that kind of thing. Yeah, they probably would today, but like the sort of the Chips kind of stop act, like stop and smile thing with your name appearing over the. That's basically how Arnold goes out at the end of Predator. Amusing. And yeah, and I will also say there's a great interview with John McTiernan on the making of Predator, where he talks about how to really conceptualize a movie. I thought that was kind of profound. Just
Cool. So you watched it before you went in to see this, right?
Yeah, I was in full Predator mode. I had overdosed on.
You didn't wear a costume, did you?
No.
Right.
It's not to say that I haven't shown up to a movie in costume before.
Well, everyone knows that story.
Yes.
Still frightened.
But no. Yeah. Predators. It was cool, and they introduced these other. There's this second level Predator. They make a distinction in the movie that there are the regular predators, but then there's the predators who hunt the predators.
Yeah,
which I think was kind of cool.
Yeah, there's like practice predators, and then the official badasses. When they can't get, they don't have soldiers and giant warthogs with huge tusks, dropping out of the sky. They have these skinnier, less, I guess they don't have as much armor, predator kind of guys that run around. They practice on them, which is cool. And I did like the warthogs that were, they referred to as dogs, that they.
Yeah, that's a great scene.
Yeah. And, even though it was CGI, obviously those creatures don't exist in real life, at least not in North Quincy where I'm taping. So it was good CGI. It wasn't, and this is a movie that did not, I'm so glad it wasn't in 3D. There was no need.
That's what I was thinking before it started. I'm so sick.
It was just as entertaining, just as much fun. We saw one the other night that was just as much fun without 3D, The Sorcerer's Apprentice. Yeah. Didn't need to be 3D. I was glad it wasn't. The effects work fine.
Yep.
I don't need to see that giant warthog chasing me in 3D.
When does Sorcerer's Apprentice come out? Next week?
I don't know.
I think it's next week. Anyway, we'll talk about it next week. But yeah, right. I really dig Sorcerer's Apprentice on the. There's my one line review.
Okay.
How about the performances? Topher Grace and Alice Braga and Mr. Matrix.
Who's Mr. Mr. Matrix was good. He was a nice added surprise, a little diversion to the story. No, it was all good. They were all strong enough to, and I think the script gave them all enough time to just do their couple minutes to establish character. They did it well. You knew who everyone was. There's a couple of twists and turns in the plot that worked as far as just the characters go. And they were all believable as badasses, too. Yeah,
and Topher Grace, him, the comic relief in a way. And Alice Braga had a lot of... There's something about just the way she looks. I mean, she's hot.
Yeah.
You give her a gun that makes her kind of extra hot in Godard's eyes, a real movie. All you need to make a movie is a hot woman and a gun.
That's true.
And he, I mean, and she's terrific here. I mean, I really liked her in Repo Men. I mean, that was a pretty strange role, but here she's, I mean, it's nothing complicated. All you have to do is kind of like grimace your way through this movie and, make sure you know how to reload your weapon. But,
there's words to live by.
Yeah,
she was excellent. She was excellent.
Yeah,
she fit in
She
You
was
know,
excellent.
and it wasn't a case of you never get the idea that she was just added for eye candy, although she is eye candy. She actually stepped up and played well with the boys.
Well,
Which I think in the original, who was the girl in the original? Was there a girl?
there was,
The
and
damsel
I
in
was trying
distress
to
kind of thing, right?
remember because there's a point in the movie where I'm not going to say how this is revealed because that's sort of a plot point, but they do refer to the original Predator, and as we know, Schwarzenegger was, I guess, the only person to survive the Predator, from the first film. So what he had to say was what some of these characters had to go by, which was his description of the Predator being able to
The heat vision.
camouflage by redirecting light.
Hmm.
Also the blood and the I guess the heat vision and whatnot, and basically describe the character as best as he could, or the creature as best as he could.
Right.
My point is that I couldn't remember, and I should have remembered that whether or not this girl from the first movie had survived, because in Predators they say that Schwarzenegger was the only survivor. But I'm trying
Wait,
to.
didn't you just watch it?
I
Didn't you
did.
just
I
watch
did.
the
I
Ultimate
can't. I
Believer?
cannot remember.
Wow.
IMDb
It's so sad when that happens.
whether she survived the film.
But you
And
just watched it.
I'm trying to remember if she had some sort of a performance death. Like
Performance death. Whatever that means. She
off
had a
camera.
performance death. Well, anyway, I think we've beaten this one to death. The Predators. I don't know if you have much more to say about it. Because I really
No,
want to
I'm
talk
looking
about
forward to seeing it again. Epelita Carrillo is her name, the girl from the first film.
the one that you were not sure if she lived or not, even though you just saw it.
Right, El Padilla Carrillo. And I don't know.
Spoken like a native.
Yeah.
Well, so I
Go
would
back.
definitely recommend it. Even if you're a fan, I think even if you're not a fan, you haven't seen all this other stuff. It works. It definitely works. So
Yeah, yeah. What's funny here is, God, we saw The Last Airbender, which was a piece of garbage. And then before that, Grown Ups, and you really disliked Cyrus, but there's a couple pieces of garbage there. And now we've got my hand just hit the mic again. Sorry about that. And now we've got Predators and another terrific film, Despicable Me.
mhm.
It was
Yeah.
I was genuinely laughing at this movie. Loved it.
Yeah.
Just loved it. I mean, it was this was real 3D, and I think if I had to, say there's one great part about. I mean, I loved the Minions. Guilty
The little,
pleasure, I guess. but
they look
every
like
emotion,
Twinkies.
yeah, it's like every emotion is expressed in these Minions, and the Minions are the followers of Gru, who is this secretive, mad scientist, ultimate bad guy, who happens to live a sort of a. You'd think he's living like this quiet suburban life,
Right.
except that his house is a little on the Addams Family side, and he has
Hmm.
a massive secret fortress hidden under the house, sort of a Batcave kind of thing. But it's
Yeah,
just
and he
sort of.
drives like a giant tank kind of car that but he drives
Oh
it
yeah,
like
very
it's a
cool.
Subaru. He's just driving down the road and he goes to Starbucks to get coffee like everyone else does, but he just happens to be an evil genius. And Carell's voice, I'm a
And if he
little
wants his coffee sooner, he just freeze rays everybody,
cuts in
and
line.
yeah, just freeze them all.
Well, it's funny. This movie looked great. I love the look of it, and
Hmm.
we've been talking about 3D in a few episodes, especially when it's bad 3D like Airbender or Clash of the Titans. But
That was like non-existent, murky blue nothingness 3D. That was what Airbender
that's
was.
the trademark.
Mm.
But this was so well done, and it's funny because every review I've read about this or heard on TV, everyone says wait till after the credits. We do that as critics anyway because they're always throwing in some kind of little
Hmm.
treat at the end. But here at the end of Despicable Me, after the credits, there's some gags from the Minions playing with the 3D. They push a giant
Oh,
ladder
right,
come out at
right.
you. It was such
Yeah.
a delight. After even we see a great movie, but then at the end of it, they're still playing with you. And I'm playing with the whole 3D thing. It was great.
It was like they're acknowledging that they're in on the joke and that you wanted to see something done with the 3D.
Yeah, finally.
Yeah.
And it was done with great humor and it worked too. But when that ladder falls out at you, you're like, wow, that's really good 3D.
Yeah. Yeah, this it really did work, and I went into this movie sort of I don't know, I was kind of like, whatever.
Not another animated movie.
Yeah, I really wasn't expecting. I didn't want to like it. I was just like, yeah, I'll check it out, and it was terrific. Jason Segel plays or does the voice. Actually, it's kind of irrelevant to me. Let's just talk about the guy, Vector. Vector is terrific. They based him, I think, on a sort of a, the inept 50s, 60s Jerry Lewis sort of theme character. And
the Nutty Professor?
Yeah, kind of like that. Kind of bowl cut and whatnot, and just very funny. He was this sort of this nerdy guy who's so full of himself, but he relates to Gru, who is played by Steve Carell, the main character here, in the way that they're both their endeavors, their evil endeavors, are both financed by this this evil bank, and Gru hasn't been performing very well lately, so the president of the bank has threatened to withdraw all funding from Gru's massive evil enterprises, and I guess funnel everything into Vector's endeavors. Now Vector has just pulled off the theft of the century by stealing the pyramids. So
but Vector also has some hilarious inventions, like what is it, a piranha gun and a squid rifle.
Yeah, the squid rifle. Nice. Yeah, and he has this amazing TV sort of den area, which has this glass floor where you can see the sharks beneath the floor. Right. Swimming through his TV area. So he's kind of this guy who lives on this huge, incredibly huge house, very minimalist, but he has these remote controls that operate everything, like his TV remotes. Well, anyway, so Gru decides to steal Vector's thunder by stealing the moon. And I think one of the best scenes in the movie is when he reveals his underground lair towards Gru. Yeah, he reveals the underground lair, the secret machinery that takes him down into this underworld that is populated by the minions, who are like the Oompa Loompas, and in a way, hysterical. And he is just so revered by the minions. They just think he is the cat's pajamas, and he just reveals his plans to steal the moon, and then with the minions going nuts. It's a terrific scene.
Well, if you mentioned that you wanted to just talk about Vector and not Jason Segel, one of the great things about this movie, I think, is that until I read it in the final credits, I didn't know it was Jason Segel.
Well,
I didn't know Russell Brand was Dr. Nefario. Yeah, I knew it was Steve.
It really doesn't. The voice,
but even it doesn't matter. They're complete characters. It's not like you're watching what was it, The Voyage of Sinbad, and you're like, well, that's Brad Pitt. Coming out of that cartoon.
Pixar still markets, their as being Tom Hanks and Tim Allen for, and all the voice talent. And that does get people into theaters. But with something like The Incredibles or some of their other films, it's really the character, that we're going with here. And sure, Steve Carell does the voice of Gru, but he's kind of disguised his voices to be sort of this Eastern European or Russian bad guy, and it's Steve Carell, and it has Steve Carell's timing, but it's really Gru. You
forget it's Carell after a while. The same way you don't know it doesn't matter if it's Jason Segel or not, or Russell Brand is the old scientist who helps Gru.
And for example, John, who plays the girls in these movies? There's the three girls who are the orphans that
it's Miranda.
Do you even know?
Yeah, Miranda Cosgrove is Margot. Dana Geyer is Edith.
Yeah, you're looking online.
I'm reading it. Oh yeah. And Elsie Fisher is Agnes. I just looked online. I didn't know Julie Andrews plays Gru's mom.
I didn't know that either.
It's one of the reasons he goes to steal the moon is not only to get back his status as the biggest bad guy, but also to make his mom happy.
Hey, John, there's some fuzz going on. It stopped.
Yeah, we fixed. My brother was at the sink. You turned on the faucet. Right. I didn't know it was that Julie Andrews plays Gru's mom. Again, it's one of those things that she's just in a little bit. Will Arnett's in it. Jermaine Clement. Is that the guy from Falcon or Condors, whatever it is?
Right. He plays what's his name from Dinner for Schmucks, the artist.
Yeah. But he's also Jerry the Minion.
Yeah.
I
did not know that.
And I think that's again the level of product we're talking here is you can get someone like Julie Andrews to come in and do what might be a 2 days work for a little part like this. They got to know that this is going to work. And it's funny because when we're talking about Gru versus Vector, and it's it's like this big science fiction bad guy thing. But then you mentioned the three little girls for
right. This is where the real story
Gru ends up adopting three little orphans to further his plans against Vector, but then he ends up becoming a father figure and more to them.
And the whole idea is that these girls are basically tools because Vector, these girls are, we first meet them as Girl Scouts.
Right.
And the only way that Gru was able to figure that he could get beyond the impenetrable barrier around Vector's house was that Vector had once allowed Girl Scouts in to sell cookies.
Right. So he can.
So Gru adopts these girls.
But they as funny and as exciting to watch as this is, there's good heart in this movie, and it's because of the three girls and their relationship that grows with Gru.
Right.
That's a funny sentence.
And part of this is a terrific amusement park scene.
Yeah.
That first hill on the roller coaster, that was awesome.
That was perfect. A perfect 3D moment.
Right. That was like your stomach was in your throat. It was awesome.
And a funny and. Now you can't turn on the TV, it seems, without seeing commercials for this movie. And there's still...
the marketing of it is a whole other story.
Oh, you're going to be sick of it. But there's a scene in it when they show Gru takes the girls to the amusement park, and one of them wants to win a unicorn. And, it's one of these fixed games where you can never knock down the target. Gru takes out this giant gun, blows away the whole stand. And the little girl gets her unicorn. And there's just this one scene that's in all the commercials, too. The little girl is walking with this stuffed unicorn that's as big as her, and she goes, "It's so fluffy!" And I still crack up. I just crack up.
It's so fluffy I could die.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Again, it's one of those things where it's those little moments in the movie that make it perfect. Yep.
It's fun. Yep. And I would also say there's enough humor that is that the adults will dig. The kids won't may not understand
the dirty
it,
jokes.
Really, there's enough here for the adults to like.
Oh yeah,
some of
especially if
that Gru makes fun of.
Yeah, and there's what is it? There's is it the bank when he goes to the bank and there's the sign in the window says formerly Lehman Brothers.
Yeah.
Little slight gags like that. I think if you grew up on kind of science fiction, even bad sci-fi movies, with mad scientists, it's all handled perfectly well. Just the fact that the minions look like Twinkies and act the way they do. Lots of sight gags. Yeah.
They're going to dig it. And, the same crowd that perhaps really went for The Incredibles is going to like the spy nature of this.
Oh yeah, definitely.
In the animation, it's a wonderful film, and my nephews and my niece are really very much looking forward to see it. In fact, I showed them Comcast has this thing where, in the new movie section online, you can go into a separate section. I think it's in the kids section too, on for Despicable Me, and you can watch a scene and then some of the other featurettes, and I showed them the scene with Gru introducing the minions to his ultimate evil plan, and the kids they thought it was just hysterical.
Yeah.
The minions funny. Much as I would try, I try not to laugh. It's oh man.
Why bother trying? It's just fun.
Yeah, it is.
And it's definitely I think it's interesting that we're only in July now. Excuse me, but two of my favorite movies of the years have both been 3D animated movies: Toy
Oh,
Story
the other
3 and
one.
this. Toy
Oh,
Story
really?
3. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. It's summertime. We still got another month or two of stuff blowing up.
Yeah, oh, I'm
But
led to wonder what's coming up, but then I'm also led to wonder, Toy Story 3, it didn't affect me as deeply as it did a number of other people I've talked to, which surprised me how these few weeks later, how deeply people have been affected by Toy Story 3. And I think it's running something like a 99% on the tomato meter, which is like, it's just not right. I mean,
yeah,
it's a great film, but I mean, it's not perfect or anything like that. I'm
it's
just
no
like,
Star Wars.
no, no, no. No, it's not.
It's not. Never will be.
But I'm sure it has a couple of Star Wars references, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So,
There was a well, we'll leave that to next week when we talk about the Sorcerer's Apprentice. But there was a good Star Wars joke in that too.
that's true. That's true. But you know, this next movie, Breathless, it's like the Star Wars for the New Wave set. I mean, it was.
Well,
All
we
right,
should.
now you're like, Steve, give it up.
No,
Give
no, no, no. I'll beat up on you in a second. But
Go for it.
this the thing is, this is Jean-Luc Godard's Breathless. It came out 50 years ago. And yeah, I read all the press kits. I was 50 years ago, so I'm pretty sure I wasn't there.
Did you see this in the theater at some point in the 70s?
No, no. I saw it on TV once, and I saw it at the press screening. I enjoyed it, sorta. I think John Paul Belmondo
Telemundo.
is cool. I get that he's cool and Bogart-esque,
Essentially, yeah.
and
Well,
the
that's
girl.
overtly what they were going for. I mean, if I kind of remember liken it to, if you recall a scene from the 400 Blows where Jean-Pierre Léaud's character, he frequents the theater and he seems to want to emulate the photos that he's looking at. Well, there's a scene in
Right.
Breathless where basically Michel, who's Jean-Paul Belmondo plays, is trying to what's the word I'm looking for? He's been trying to imitate Humphrey Bogart in one of the, by the way he smokes, by the look on his face, and so it was kind
Right.
of overt.
Right.
But yeah, it's overtly trying to be cool.
Yeah, yeah, and it works. And I imagine, 50 years ago, it was such a new way of movie making, and
Oh,
so
sure.
on and on and on. Broke down all the barriers, and
Hmm.
that's great. But I'm watching it 50 years later, and I feel like sometimes I need to do like homework before I go see a movie like this. I don't just sit there and enjoy it.
Right. I can understand that midway through the film, one has you know, uh, their taste of this movie, and it becomes a bit tiring because
Yeah.
I've had it happen too. I've rented it before on Criterion, and I've fallen asleep watching it. It's not
Very
it's not the
chatty.
liveliest of movies, but what I think it is really is what Gene Seberg and Belmondo are doing here is they're playing adults. They're adults, but they're like children playing in this adult world, and I think that's what Godard is letting them do. Is he's following them around with the camera, and they're just it's sort of about, in a way, like lampooning life in a way, the way they're just carefree and running through the city, and Michel is a criminal. He actually kills a cop at the
He's a
beginning.
murderer. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's all done in this sort of like we're playing, we're pretending. I mean, it's staged. There's no blood.
Well, there's
It's
also,
just
well, there's that, and then but there's that huge section in the middle where they're in her apartment,
Mhm.
and he's looking to get some, and
Oh,
she's
right.
got other things on her mind, and God, they just won't shut up. And it's one of these long French conversations,
Well,
which
it's
means
you're
there's a
learning
lot of
about.
reading.
Okay, well, you're learning about her character, and you're learning about
Mm,
he's trying to look for ways to basically get her in bed again.
right.
And she puts up her guard, and she has these rules, and he's trying to find a kink in the armor to
Uh-huh.
to want to be with her, and so it's playful conversation, it's playful banter, it's idealist. Ideally, it's a playful movie, and
Well, I understand that you're learning about her character, but at the same time, the more they won't shut up, I'm learning to, I like their characters less and less.
Okay.
It's not, the conversation wasn't really opening any doors or giving me any insight after a while. I was just like,
Well,
either
it doesn't
have
flow
sex
the same way
or
they think that a modern film, is.
no. That's why I say 50 years ago it was probably cool, chic, great conversation because people didn't talk this way in movies. They were talking sexy French.
Well, it's really a style piece. I mean, I think a lot of points are taken from this film that that are attributed to like if you ask the editors of Vogue magazine what their ideal movie would be, I'm thinking Breathless must be up there. Something that really has a lot of style and says something about the way people look and the way people are sort of playing with life. This is it's almost like you're watching models, be carefree. It's there is that. For all that Jean-Luc Godard is, he's a great filmmaker and he broke a lot of rules and sure, maybe people are able to do what he does today on a much lower budget, with just video cameras. But back then it was, you couldn't light things the way people can do today. Just by running around, But he did have this, this eye for loving the people that are in his movies. He always had beautiful women, Catherine Deneuve and, other women, just beautiful people. I wonder if Godard could do the same thing if he was photographing ugly people or weird people, like Fellini.
Yeah.
Would it be the same? But I don't know. This is part of his style. He makes beautiful movies, and a part of it is that he's got such beautiful people in his films. I mean, this made Belmondo an international star, who he really wasn't anybody so much at the moment. But
right.
And then, of course, Jean Seberg she had appeared, I think, in a couple Peckinpah films, so this was very different for her, and she was, I think, the well-known star who was in the film. But it's two beautiful people, and the camera loves that, and Godard loves that. Put them in the middle of Paris, and magic, Magic.
After our conversation about Cyrus,
yes,
I was. Here's the same kind of spur of the moment filmmaking, handheld cameras, blah blah blah, all the stuff we talked about the Duplass brothers doing.
Right.
But it was always in focus.
Yeah.
I was sitting there watching it, going, I'm going to see if it ever goes out of focus. I'm going to tell Steve. And I was like, oh no. They kept.
Ebert loved Cyrus. I wanted to tell you that because I checked out his review and he loved Cyrus. So that's all I can say. I know I'm offering up another a lob there, but
no, that's fine. Hey, but speaking of which, it wouldn't be fair to talk about Godard's film without mentioning the 1983 remake with Richard Gere.
Oh my God! Wow.
And Valerie Kaprisky. Again, it's set in Las Vegas and not in Paris.
John, I have to tell you, I haven't seen the film, but I am like, how?
You didn't see Richard Gere's Breathless?
No, I haven't.
He got the big thing. This is 1983. He got an extra, at the time, I think it was either $100,000 or, some obscene amount because he does a pickle shot in the shower. He turns around and you see his pickle. And it was like the big, controversy about this movie. It's like, ooh, here's a Hollywood star showing his pickle. And it was an awful movie. It was an awful remake. And the thing is,
I can't understand why, are they going to make it with are they going to actually put the camera on a dolly and make this movie?
Here's the thing that makes other critics turn over in their grave. I saw the Richard Gere movie first.
Okay.
So to me, Godard made a remake of the Jim McBride film from 1983. Just kidding, but
great.
I was like,
I'm
borrowed all these ideas from McBride.
I'm having a horrifying flashback of having seen the Alec Baldwin version of The Getaway prior to seeing Peckinpah's Getaway.
Right, exactly. There's another thing. It goes back to, again, this whole thing we're talking about, with Predators. Is there a need to make another Predator? Was there a need to make another Breathless? No. Did we need another Getaway? No. You know, it's just it's like his Godard's movie came out in what are we talking about, 1960 now, 59, 60? And so 23 years later, this guy Jim McBride decides, I'm going to remake it with Richard Gere and Valerie Kaprisky, set it in Vegas, and it'll be awesome. It wasn't. It was crap. So
why is it now that I want to check it out? Oh,
because you want to see Richard Gere's pickle.
I want to see crap.
You got to see his pickle.
I would see Breathless again in a sec. I would see Predators again and Despicable Me.
Yeah.
In fact, and Predators on Blu-ray, I would see that again. In fact, I'm very much looking forward to it.
Could you see it before next week and we find out if that woman died or not?
I shall. I'm going to get back to you on that. I need to know, because if this is wrong, then there's something wrong with Predators. If they, in fact, I can't remember if she died, and you would think that I would remember how, because typically in those type of movies, it's a performance death. I mean, you go out in a big way.
Right.
And I can't remember how she bought it, if she did. But in Predators, they say that there was only one survivor. They don't say who it was, but the one survivor, I mean, we've all seen Predator. I mean, it's Schwarzenegger. He makes it out because he covers himself in mud, and that relates to what also happens in Predators. But I have to tell you, the reason Schwarzenegger covered himself in mud isn't because so he could hide him. You can still cover yourself in mud and be clothed and hide from the predator, but Schwarzenegger covers himself in mud naked from the so you can basically it's like you can see his upper body development.
It's Arnold.
He didn't have to do it naked. He could have done it.
Adrian Brody didn't have to do it. Arnold,
Brody,
he's Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's a professional bodybuilder. Yeah. Adrian Brody suddenly looked like a skinny guy with great abs, covered in mud. I was like, okay.
You can still cover yourself in mud and keep your clothes on. That's the moral of the story.
I'm glad, it's not often that these podcasts get a moral. I'm glad we have one now.
Thanks.
Should we end it on the moral note? We've taken the moral high ground with this.
Sure. I got to ask you though, what's coming up next week? What about the Angelina Jolie Salt film? Is that happening?
Salt. You mean as far as the screening go, or is it
next week? Well, we've seen. As far as screenings go, we've got Salt coming up.
Inception.
And, Inception. Yes. That'd be exciting.
We've already seen Sorcerer's Apprentice. Did you see what is it called? The Kids Are All Right?
No, haven't. Want to.
Yeah.
Very much want to.
I would like you to, because I would really like to discuss that.
Good. Good. Happy to.
I just read a review in the New York Daily News that gave it 5 stars. 5 stars. They gave Despicable Me 4 stars. Ty Burr, our fellow critic Ty Burr from the Globe, told me that The Kids Are All Right was his favorite movie at Sundance last year.
Really?
And I did not like it.
Okay. All right. Well, I liked Laura Canton, so and Laura Cholodenko, I forget her name. I like her stuff. She's good. Yeah. She's great filmmaker, I think. On the subject of stars, Wesley Morris and the Globe gave Predators 3.5.
That's good for them.
Also got a thumbs up from Ebert. So,
see,
the man doesn't do stars.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Okay.
We liked it. That's the main thing, is we liked it.
When does Salt come out? Is that this month or?
Yeah, I think so. I know they're showing it the end of the week, right? There's a couple of screenings of it coming up. Are you going to see Ramona and Beezus? Is this one we want to review?
That was asked of me yesterday, and I don't know.
Salt's coming out on July 23rd.
So as always, send us an email. Let us know what you think. We'd really like to hear from you, and let us. I mean, if you like the movie, if you hate it, if we're completely wrong about Grown-Ups, and you think that it's the best thing since sliced bread, send us an email at postmoviepodcast@gmail.com, and check us out online at post-movie.net, and on Facebook too. I guess you can do the post-movie search on Facebook. We are there. So until next week, I'm Steve Head.
John Black.
And adios. Paul, if you wanted to edit it earlier when it seemed like a good point to end it, that would be.
Yeah.